Hello, welcome back. We have already discussed about data types and its operations, and also we have talked about this control structure like if else block and then for loop. In this video I am going to talk about functions. So functions are like group of some codes together to perform an unit task, and these code blocks can be reused in several parts of the code. Also, I can use this function in several modules as well. We'll talk about modules in later video. So let's see some code and then we'll go through each part of the code. So there are basically two parts in function. So we have one function definition and another one is function invocation. So function definition is the blueprint where we give some instructions. So let's say I have one function called message. So we can write like def and then the function name, which is message in this case, and one parenthesis and then colon, and in next line this indentation is very important. So we have this indentation, and Python recommends like there has to be 4 spaces. So if I go 1 2 3 4 space, so that is actually the starting of this indentation, and there we can write some code. So let's say I want to print hello world, hello world, right? And if I execute it, so the function is registered. Now we need to invoke it. So what we can do is we can call the function, and this is the way we can call function. We can write the function name and this parenthesis, and it is going to invoke the function. So this is actually custom function, and we already are familiar with this print function, right? Now in this function we don't have any arguments, so we can have some arguments as well. So let's say I have one argument called name, and what I can do is I can write like hello plus name. So if I execute this code and if I pass a name, let's say Anirban, it is going to print hello Anirban. Also we can do something like we can return something back so that we can use it in somewhere else. So instead of printing here, what I can do is we can write return, and return is basically a function. So we can give one bracket, also we may not give a bracket, it will behave exactly same. So if I execute it, and when I am calling, let's say I am storing in a variable called x, and if I print it, print the x, the output is exactly same. But let's say instead of return, if I print it, print, then it is none. So basically print function returns none. So let's go back to return. Now I can do one thing. Let's say I have another variable called y, and this time I can pass like world, and if I print y, it will be hello world. So this is the reusability I am talking about. So function is defined once, but we are calling several times. Let's say I want to find the factorial of a number. So what I can do is basically, let's say I have n equal to 5 and I want to find the factorial of 5. So what I can do is I can go for a for loop for I in range, and I want to go from 1 till n plus 1. And what I can do is, let's say I have one variable called fact equal to 1, and I can multiply that fact with I, right? And if I print the fact, it will be 120, right? So all these things actually written in the global scope, but instead of that we can write in the function as. So what I can do is I can create one function using def fact, and let's say I expect one number, and I can have the same thing here, and instead of printing I can return this fact. Okay, and now if I call fact with 5, it is going to return me 120, right? So if I change it to 4, it will be 24. So this is one way of writing this factorial function. There is another thing called recursive function. So in this code, what is happening is, so initially I is 1 and then I will go till 4, and each time it will be multiplied as 1 multiplied by 2, then multiplied by 3 and multiplied by 4, and then for loop be finished and it will return this result. Same thing we can go from the backwards using the recursive function. So recursive function actually calls itself. So we can do one thing, let's say fact, and it expects one number n, and what we can do, return n multiplied by fact n minus 1. So this is little bit complicated. We are passing, let's say initially we passed 4 and then next time we are passing 4 minus 1 is 3, and if we go like that it will actually go in infinite loop. So we have to stop it somewhere, and that is called the base case of the recursive function. And here the base case is when n is less than or equal to 1, we actually return n. So if we run this and if we pass 5, we get 120. So this is actually a recursive function. So if I don't pass any value and it expects one parameter, it is going to throw one error. So let's check it. So if I run like this, it is going to say that it is missing one required positional argument n. So in this case what we can do is we can give one default value, let's say 10, and if we don't pass anything it will be calculated based on the given value as 10. Alright, so this is the default value concept. So all these functions has actually defined set of arguments. But what if we don't know the number of arguments? So in that case we can use something called args. So let's check this. So let's say I have one function called add, and if I do something like this, args, and if I check the type of args, let's say let's print the type of args. So if I invoke this function like this, let's say 1, so this args will be stored as tuple, right? Even I can pass like 2, 3, 4, a. So if I call this, all these things will be stored in a table. So now we can perform some operations as well. So let's say I want to return the sum of these numbers. So what I can do is return sum of args, right? So if I do this, we'll get back the result, and here sum is actually inbuilt function. There is one more thing called keyword arguments. That is, let's say I want to add some extra to it, and if I pass like extra equal to 5, so whatever we'll pass along with that I want to add extra 5. So I can get these numbers using this double star k args, and these args and k args are actually not fixed, so we can give anything instead of args or k args. Let's say a and ka, which is also good. So we can get the k args in a dictionary. So if I print the ka, it will be in a dictionary. We can access those values. So I can write extra. So if I do something like this, I can get this extra value as 5 back, and I can use that value. And now what I can do is like I can write ka and extra. So if I do something like this, I get this 15 back. Alright, and this order is also very important. So if I write something like this, so if I put it before this args, this Python program is going to crash. The definition is wrong actually. This is syntax error, because first we need to have these args, and after that we can write these keyword arguments. And now if I execute, Python is happy. We have another construct called lambda function. It is written actually in a single line, and we can perform some shorter operation. Let's say I want to write one lambda function which can give the square of a number. So what I can do is write lambda x, and we can return x to the power 2. So if I execute this, it is going to give me one signature back. So that is actually, it is saying this is a function but lambda type, and it requires one x argument, but we cannot invoke it because this is actually anonymous and we don't have any name. So we need to store it in a variable. Let's say square. This is the variable we have stored. Now if I pass like square and let's say 3, it will be square of 3, so it is 9. Even we can write this factorial in this lambda function. So let's say I want to write fact equal to lambda, and factorial needs one number, let's say x, and what I can do is like if x is less than equal to 1, then I'll return x, else I will do fact of x minus 1, and I'll multiply that with x, right? So if I execute it and if I call it like with 3, I should get 6 back. And this is using lambda function. And let's say I want to check the greater number between two numbers. So what I can do is like greater equal to lambda x and y. I have two parameters, and what I can do is if x greater than y, then I will return x back, else y. So if I call like greater and 100 and like 45, I should get 100 back. Alright, so this is all about functions, and hope you have enjoyed the video, and if you have any doubt, please write me in the comment section, and thanks for watching the video.